I'm Jim Christian, founder and CEO of Cornerstone, and this is Behind the Barricade, a show about performance breakthroughs in construction. If you care about better schedules, smarter budgets, and projects that actually open on time, you are in the right place. To launch this podcast, I wanted a guest who lives at the intersection of vision and execution. Today, you'll hear from my friend Virginia Grant, Vice President of Store Development at Luxottica. If the name feels familiar, it should. Luxottica is the vertically integrated eyewear leader behind brands like Ray-Ban, Oakley, Sunglass Hut, LensCrafters, and Oliver Peoples. With their own labs, retails, stores, and global footprint, Virginia's path is not typical, and that's why it's so powerful. She started with a teaching background, moved into retail operations, then boldly raised her hand for construction. With zero experience and learned the trade the hard way. I mean, literally, crawling ceiling spaces, pulling cable, hanging drywall, painting, installing floor. That's hands-on start, shaped how she leads today. Here's the scale she operates at. Her team in the US and Canada delivers 120 to 150 projects a year across refurbishments, relocations, and new builds, plus special projects. That is 3 or 4 openings a week on average, with year-end sprints like 36 stores before Christmas Eve. You can feel the pace. In our conversation, she shares one story that hooked me, a flagship in Sydney where leadership wanted a full expansion in 13 days. New HVAC, flooring, fixtures, dividing wall removed. They pulled it off, and not by luck. The win came from fundamentals done right, bulletproof kickoffs, stakeholder alignment early, plans, budgets, schedules, mapping risks, plan A, B, C, and D before anyone picked up the tool. Her line is great. When you pick up the tool, it should be smooth sailing. If not, you've missed something upstream. We also dig into big levers that separate projects that go well and ones that drift. First, absolute clarity on expectations and the audience. Second, an estimate that is reality-based, not wishful thinking. Union environments, dock constraints, tariffs, freights, phasings are not footnotes. Third, relentless due diligence. Redline the drawings again, walk through with the architect, walk through with the GC, and then check again. And then we look ahead. Virginia talks about using AI to give the teams back time on lease reviews, landlord requirements, cost forecasts, schedule risk, and plan red lines. Not a replacement for judgment, but as a force multiplier. She also touches on BIM and Autodesk ACC flows that let her teams model store experiences in minutes, collaborate faster, and why that matters when retail is changing weekly. There's a smart sustainability segment too, including a Milan case where wasted materials from eyewear were recycled into store millwork. Design for deconstruction is not just a slogan. It's a cost life cycle decision. Finally, we do not dodge the tough stuff. Skilled labor shortages, productivity that's been flat for decades, and a painful stat she cites. On average, about 30% of projects get stopped and revisited. That means drawings and estimates are being done twice. Her prescription is simple, but not easy. Invest in people, update methods, and get the fundamentals right so you're not paying for the same work twice. It's an honest, practical, high-tempo conversation to kick off the show, and I'm excited for you to hear it. I'm Jim Christian. This is Behind the Barricade, brought to you by Cornerstone, where we are committed to creating a better journey for our clients, our staff, our project partners, and ultimately the world. Now, on to the episode. Hi, I'm Jim Christian, CEO and founder of Cornerstone, and welcome to the Behind the Barricade podcast, a podcast dedicated to exploring performance breakthroughs in construction. So we're really excited today to have Virginia Grant on the podcast. Virginia is a great friend of mine and is the Vice President of Store Development for Luxottica. So welcome, Virginia. So excited to have you here today. Just before we get started, maybe you could tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got to this role at Luxottica and what Luxottica does.
Thanks, Jim. Firstly, thank you so much for having me for this amazing opportunity today. I feel very privileged to be part here.
Oh, you're welcome.
Luxottica. So this is a company, in case many people don't know, is an eyewear company. We're a vertical integrated company that means we have retail stores, we have labs that do create lenses and makes lenses. You know, one of our most famous taglines out there is that we let people see the beauty of life. So
Wow.
one of the companies that own Oakley, Ray-Ban, Sunglass Hut, LensCrafters here in the USA, Oliver Peoples, the list goes on. And my role in particular here today is about the design and construction phase. And we are responsible for the internal retail fit outs of the stores that showcase our product for you guys to come in and purchase the glasses. So a little bit about me.
Yeah. Neat.
Believe it or not, I have a teacher's background, and it's equivalent in the USA to a elementary teacher's background. And I was casually teaching one year, and I needed some money because, as all young people, wanted to go overseas. And the company I was working for at the time as a part-timer offered me a full-time job. So I took that job on to get that money. And the great thing about anyone who goes to university, most of those skills are transferable into any role. You know, particularly in teaching, we learn about sociology, psychology, time management, all of those things that you need to be able to do in life, let alone in any particular job that you've got. So I moved over to a sporting retail outlet and I worked my way through there, and I absolutely fell in love with retail and
Wow.
managing people and leading people. So I did that for 10 to 15 years between retail sales and operations. And one particular year, our construction project manager left and they were looking for a new assistant project manager. And even though I had zero experience, I put my hand up because I was like, this is my calling. I want to move to this area. I love watching and seeing things come to life. So I begged the CFO at that time to give me a chance. And believe it or not, she put a punt on me. And I thought, how hard can it be? This is going to be great. But within 4 weeks, the actual head of construction left the business altogether as well. So I did have a little panic because I thought, okay, I know nothing. I'm less than 4 weeks old. And they're going to go to someone external or maybe outsource this particular work for the business. As in retail, this happens a lot, inside, outside, inside out. So again, I went back to her and I said, please just give me a go. Let me have 6 months. Let me prove myself to you. And clearly it kept coming back to, you don't know anything about construction. How can I possibly give you this opportunity? But I begged. And for whatever reason, she took a punt on me again.
Wow.
And I thought, how hard can it be? But I was a little bit wrong. I didn't even understand what a power data outlet was. I didn't know what Cat 5 meant. I didn't even know how to read a set of plans. But there was a builder that worked for us that while I was on the operations side, we were responsible for putting the product on the shelves. So I knew of him. I was there while he was still finishing the store while I put the product on there. And I said to him, I know nothing. I have a job. Can you please let me work with you for the next 8 weeks like an apprentice? I wanted to be in that, sorry, the lights just went out. I wanted to be in that role as an apprentice to understand what it was. So he said yes as well. So clearly I had this charm working of everybody saying yes. And I literally crawled through every ceiling. I cabled a store. I put the drywall on a store. I painted the drywall. I sheeted other things. I put the flooring down. I carried and unloaded things in the dock. I did think my back was never, ever, ever going to be the same again. But I actually learnt stuff. I didn't just learn what it takes to build a store, but I learnt how important it is to have clear communication, to have clear drawings, how many different people it takes to bring something to life. I learnt about the cost of doing something because I now crawled through the ceiling myself. I know that putting an extra data point isn't a 5-minute job. What
Right.
you need to purchase to do that job. So for me, I feel that that really built my credibility back to my own team and workplace, but in turn to landlords and to other people out there. So then, as they say, the rest is history. I've been in this industry for over 25 years now on the construction side. In 2017, I moved to Luxottica, where I am today. And I think you'll tell from my accent, I'm Australian.
Yeah.
But in 2023, I got a calling to come over here. So I moved and relocated my young family. There were 7 and 9, my kids at the time, and moved over here and based in New York City and now heading up the store design and development
Wow.
department for USA and Canada. There's a lot of info there, but that is
Yeah,
my journey and
great.
how I got here.
What a story. I love the way you just got so many yeses early in your career in construction and how you went into the field. That's terrific. Wow. Now I know who to call when we are in a jam.
Yeah. I'm not sure my back can do any more of it ever again.
So just one follow-up question on that, just to give people an idea of scale. How many projects would you be overseeing or your team would be overseeing in a calendar year between US and Canada, just to give a sense of the number of projects that you're processing?
Yeah, good question. Currently, the main departments that we take care of are our refurbs, relocation, and new store opportunities for all of our brands and our franchise partners as
Right.
well. So we've got about 7 key brand accounts that we work on, and we would do anything from 120 to 150 minimum a year. And
Right.
then we also take care of our special projects, which is like some beautification pluses and some minor works throughout the stores as well.
That's 3 or 4 projects a week you're grinding out. If it was averaged out through the year, but I know that's not the way it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got 36 to do before Christmas Eve, but we're not counting.
I think maybe you are, but
Yeah.
so, Virginia, would love you to share with us what you see as a performance breakthrough that you're seeing in your team. Maybe it's a specific project where you saw something happen that you went, this is good stuff, or maybe it's an overall philosophy you have. Like, how do you get performance breakthroughs, whether an overall view or maybe there's a specific project that you wanted to highlight today?
I think what project isn't unique? They're all special in all of their own ways. And I think for me that this is the best part of the job for me. This is the part that is exciting and that gets me going every day to come back to do it again. For me, it's basically the methodology is the same, but every single job is unique, be it in its design, its layouts, the material or the customer journey or the building challenges or the people that are working on those actual projects. But for me, it all comes down to if we want to perform at our best or get the best result and impact for the business, it comes down to the fundamentals. All of the fundamentals, no matter how basic they look or sound, they need to be met. If we don't meet those basics, we will never be able to get a project complete on time, in budget, or with quality. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, we had a project and the MD basically wanted it done in a click of a fingers. He wanted as limited downtime whatsoever so sales can continue and we didn't disrupt his business whatsoever. And to paint the picture, this store was a flagship store in Sydney and it was going to be expanded to be double its size. The type of store would take on average 5 weeks for us to do closed. But the challenge the MD gave us was 13 working days. So it included dividing walls to be knocked down, new HVAC to go, flooring, millwork, fixtures. Everything was brand new in this store. And really, 24 hours in their eyes was enough to shut the store down, to turn off the computers and reset them back up. You know, this is a very, very, very big ask for something to be done, but you can't just hope that it happens. You need to plan and you need to get everything in perspective before you did it. So I think the biggest surprise was we actually did it. The belief that the MD thought we could do it, I think was enough to make us feel good about ourselves. And, if you build a good relationship with your key stakeholders and your management that you work with, you're doing things because you don't want to let them down. You want to, you now believe in yourself. It's like a superpower. Your mindset is that superpower. So, if he believed, I believe, well, absolutely it can be done. Let's figure out how to do this because I know I might be, crying at home at night thinking about it, but in actual fact, someone thinks I can do it, so I'm going to get it done. So, it also really highlighted and cemented to me 100% how important all of the basic fundamentals / due diligence and pre-planning is. So this project really had to be under a microscope from day one. The kickoff had to be bulletproof. We had to make sure all the right stakeholders are involved, from real estate, for the landlord scope of works, for what we were getting, when, how, and why, what the dock conditions were, the council, the permits, who could come, when could they come. It's in the city. There's a tram in front of our store. So when could you have a delivery? How could you close the road off? When could you bring a crane in? A plan. When could you turn the HVAC on and all? So there is so much in there that you have to stop, plan it all out and get it in order of how you're physically going to execute that at a later date. So part of that for me is also to know this is my plan A. But for me in a project, I always work on, okay, let's think about all the risks and things that can go wrong. And let's create a plan B, a plan C, and a plan D. And before we even start building, what are the risks to each of those plans? What would we do if we had to go to plan B? Let's talk through it. Let's walk through it. Let's take management through it, and let's get all the approvals, because often getting approval to change direction can take the longest part of a project and cause one of the biggest delays, not just in cost, but in the time for that actual project. So we went through all of that. We had all of these plans and options ready to go. So when we pick up a tool, that is the easiest part of the job. That should be the quickest and most pain-free part of any job. For me, my team's absolutely sick of me saying, when you pick up that tool, it's smooth sailing. I shouldn't hear from you. I should just turn up and everything is absolutely beautiful, other than an inspector not turning up or an act of God has physically happened. So for me, we made this project. We did it in 13 days. We probably never slept. But what it did is it reinforced that you can't just treat a one-off project like that. Every project should be treated the same. No matter how big or how small that project is, you should physically give it the same care, the same due diligence, the same pre-planning over and over again in each of the jobs that you do.
Virginia, the project was 13 days. How much time did you invest in that pre-construction, in that fundamentals of getting ready? When you think of 13 days active construction, how much time did you put into the project prior to starting?
So I think people are shocked to hear how fast Luxottica works, from EA approval, which is approval from all sides of management, to actually building a store and having it happen. But it would have been no more than 8 weeks. So in that 8 weeks, we needed to draw and document and see the permit people, but everything can work simultaneously against each other. So for 8 solid weeks, we have a team of people that are on that project while other projects are still happening to do all of that due diligence.
Right. And how would that, with that project being so special, when you think of kind of a regular project, is that 8 weeks still kind of your mandate for reconstruction? Or how much energy would you say going into a regular project would you put into pre-construction?
Absolutely. 8 weeks would probably be the minimum to do it well. Now, whether each individual person puts that into each project, that can be definitely a different topic altogether. But in order for that to happen, you should be working with your AOR partners, your GC partners, and your material planning partners for that entire duration of that 8 weeks. I have a saying that when I interview someone, I often say to them, if you don't like checking, following up, and checking again, then this job isn't for you in any way, shape, or form, because you need to physically not only place an order, check that they got the order, then check that they've shipped the order, then check that the GC has that order. So your partnership from the minute it's at conceptual stage all the way through to tendering should be checking that project over and over. Here in the US, as everybody knows, we actually probably have a little bit more time up our sleeves, because if something's in the permit stages, we get the luxury of often 4 or 5 weeks extra that we could be doing those checks or sharing the load in that period of time.
Permitting is an interesting dynamic to our projects in North America, isn't it?
Totally.
That's amazing. So what would you say is the key differential between a project going well and one that doesn't go well? What would you say? I know this happens. This is what's happened that's caused a project to go well, or has caused it to go the other way.
Yeah, it's a good question, because some people like to have lists of about 100 things that makes a project goes well. And I'm a firm believer, 2 or 3 things. If you just focus on 2 or 3 things, the rest will come and fall into place. So for me, definitely is, if we were to say 3, I would say the first one is actually, what is the whole project about to start with? Who is your audience? What is it that you're meant to deliver? What is the expectation? Expectation from the landlord, expectation from the business, expectation from a cost point of view, expectation of the look and feel of the store. If you're not clear on that, you're going to go nowhere very, very fast. The second thing for me is the budget and the estimate. If you don't do this estimate correctly up front, you may as well set yourself up for failure for the rest of the journey. So budget is very, very important. Not only do we need to know how much that each project can spend, but what we need to understand and know is what is our estimate that we're putting forward for this concept or design intent on this actual store. So to do that, again, my team is probably sick of me saying your estimate needs to be almost bulletproof. There's no room for 5 and 10% inflation on either side. Those type of things should again be due to an act of God or something very, very unknown or a change of direction halfway through that project. We need to get the estimate right. You need to put in the time it takes to get an estimate right. So use the correct market value. Know if it's a union site up front. Know the material and the spec. Know the cost of those materials and specs before you put them in there. Know the duration of the project. Know whether it's a phased or a closed remodel in these stores. It's a silly thing, but know what your loading dock is, because then you know how many trucks are going to come. So then you know how your freight should be estimated. Know what the tariffs are these days on these goods that are coming in. Know your international freight. There are so many different parts, but if you don't do that due diligence on that estimating budget thing, you've automatically lost one of the key parts of opening a store. Everybody wants their store open on time and in budget, but you can't do the budget side if you don't put the time and effort at the beginning to get the budget right. And then the third part for me goes totally back to the full due diligence. Do all of the due diligence throughout the project. Check the plan again, meet with the AOR and redline it again, meet with the GC and take them through the plan. Know your plan inside out and back to front so you are bulletproof. So when you go on site, you will automatically get that right on every stage when you're building. So for me, I think they're the 3 areas I tell the team only to concentrate on, and the rest should come and fall into place itself.
Start with the end in mind, like get clear on what everybody's expectations is, get a good budget, and do your due diligence, do your bleed over the drawings, as we like to say, like really know your project, know the ins and outs, get the surprises uncovered. That's amazing. That's great. Yeah. So what trends are you looking at in the industry? What's got your curiosity? Where do you think there's opportunities that you'd like to explore? What are you seeing, or what would you like to be exploring? And that may help us feed new other topics for the podcast, but just really interested to know kind of what you're thinking about these days.
You know, the number one question I'm asked daily by everybody, upper management, lower management, side management, is how can my team increase the capacity and how can we do more with less? Less money, less time, less people. A huge, huge part of this is definitely AI. I think the more that we can use AI to our advantage in process, the more hours in the day that we will get given back. Things that we've started to play around with in our team is reviewing a lease, reviewing landlord requirements, creating and forecasting costs, overruns or schedules, reviewing red lines on a plan. The more we can use AI to help do some of the, I'm going to call them more administrative tasks of our business, the better. Now, we can't rely on AI 100%. It is not bulletproof, but, you know, there is so many different ways of using AI today that you can set parameters in there. You can give it plans that you want it to always refer back to a prototype set of drawings. You can give it a base landlord letter that you always want the lease to refer back to. So there are so many different ways that you can use AI. I'm not sure, Jim, if you've heard about BIM, but this is building information modeling. This is a digital process that really enables the creation and management of building data through its whole journey, through demo, through the life cycle of the design, the construction, and even maintenance. You can use this. I was really privileged a couple of months ago. I went to Nashville for a global conference that was held by ACC. This is an Autodesk company. And we really got to see what's next in the retail world. A lot of big commercial places or airports are currently using ACC to its full capacity, but it's really starting in its infancy in the retail market.
Right.
And we are really at its infancy in our team at the moment, but it is an opportunity to change what we do, how we do it. We'll be able to draw a store when it's fully operational in 5 minutes, not in terms of construction drawings and documented drawings, but in terms of a 3D scale model that we can show the brand. You can change quickly if you add another room. What do you do? How do you do it? And that is going to change what we do and how we do it, and also increase the capacity of what we do. I think sustainability is still really out there. People are often asked, why aren't we doing sustainability in general in the
Right.
construction world? And sustainability has a cost to it. It has a cost if we don't do it, but it has a cost to the project up
Yeah.
front if
Yeah.
we do it. So it's kind of like a nut conundrum. What do we do? So I think that the emphasis really needs to be, and it's something that our company is definitely working on, is designing for deconstruction. How can
Mm.
we reuse materials?
Uh,
How can we change their composition and reuse it in another store in another way, in the flooring or in wall materials? So I think that we need to think about the life cycle of a cost rather
mm.
than the upfront cost. That's a really big opportunity and trend that we would be silly not to get on board with. And lastly, workforce skills and transformation. I'm a huge believer that nothing can be done without people in any way, shape, or form. People are what matter. People are and is what gets the job done. There is nothing like the feeling of bringing a project to life in
Right.
any way, shape, or form. But we need to continuously work on our people and give them the tools, the systems, the digital or literacy that they need to be able to continue to collaborate with all of these new ways of working and opportunities that are out there, because we won't be able to deliver anything without this great bond and belief and trust in each other of our people.
That's great. I just want to ask a question about the sustainability. When you're talking about the reuse of product, do you have an active example of something that you're really thinking about or
Yeah,
exploring in a
well,
little more detail?
something that Luxottica did in a store that's currently in Milan is, because we're lucky we make eyewear in our own labs, there are uh, oh my God, I can't even think of the word, the
Frame?
arms of the glasses. And that can be waste. Say that they're damaged and they're not going to go on there. In one of our actual stores, they have got all of that waste, reused that, worked with different recycling companies, and that is now the millwork fixture that is on the store in Milan holding our product. So
Wow.
there is 1,000 ways that we can do that. Scrap metal, we can melt it, we can put it down, we can recreate something. There's so many different parts of what we do and other people do, like the amount of cardboard that any store's millwork or packaging comes in, the plastic, all of those things. You can partner globally with so many different company and recycle companies now that will either take that off your hands and create something new themselves,
Wow.
or you can work with them and create something yourself, such as what Luxottica did with the arms of the glasses and the lenses, to be able to create something for their own use in the business. So I think it's a great news story. It's an opportunity out there for everybody to start thinking of.
Yeah.
Often we think sustainability is just about making it from materials that cost 50 times more than what they do today. And it isn't. It is a lot more out there if you take the time to
Yeah.
review it.
You got to invest the time and the energy to
Yeah.
unpack it. That's very cool, though, taking waste from the store, like the arms of the glass, and building something for a fixture. That's quite cool. That's quite
It
cool.
is. And it was great to see it in person there as well.
Yeah. Well, maybe one day I'll go to Milan and I get to check
Yeah,
it out. Maybe we'll go to
definitely.
Milan and check it out.
We can.
The last question I have for you, and this is going to help us look for other opportunities for future podcasts, is what would you say is the biggest challenge facing performance in construction? When I started thinking about this podcast and doing the research, construction productivity is basically stagnant. And it's actually gone down since the early 2000s, but it's basically flat. There's been no huge increase in construction performance matrix over the last couple of decades. So what would you say is the biggest challenge that we're facing as an industry, and how would Any ideas on how to tackle it?
Yeah, look, probably twofold on that. I think definitely skills shortage is a huge thing on the field. You know, getting laborers or electricians or plumbers. I think that there is an amazing opportunity worldwide to be able to reinvigorate those programs that were around when I was younger. Not that I personally took them, but, go to tech and become an apprentice.
Hmm.
Because if you think about that skilled worker, we don't have all of those people coming through the ranks the same way that we did, like you said, 3, 4 decades ago. Construction work is well paid, but still doesn't have the stigma of that's a job that we should go to before we go to university or college. So I think that is definitely an opportunity. How do we motivate and excite people for them to want to join this industry? Both male, female, all different ages. It's not just about heavy lifting anymore. And I think a lot of people think construction is just about being, a worker who can carry all these things in and out of a building site. It's not about that. There's so many different opportunities for both sexes out there in all ages of life. And I think another really big performance issue facing everybody, and sometimes this is due to the speed of how everybody wants to execute in life, is low productivity driven by poor project coordination. So what I mean by that, I read the other day that on average, 30% of projects are stopped and revisited. And that means you're drawing them twice. That means you're estimating them on average twice. 30% of your project workload being done twice. Imagine what you could do with those people if you only did things once. A lot of that is due to collaboration. Not everybody on every level in every field is collaborating what they want. Sometimes people can't articulate what they want, when, how, and why. The market, as you know, is changing 24/7. We need to keep up with market trends, with retail trends, with digital trends that are out there and experiences that we want to give to our people, because you can buy anything online these days. So how do we keep up in the retail world? And also there's a lot of outdated methods that are still out there. Not every business has adopted new ways of working. And goes back to skilled workers as well. We do and are coming into a shortage of skilled workers as well.
Well, those are great insights. Yeah, the skilled labor is a real challenge. It really is. I wanted to say with your final comment, it's going back to those fundamentals. Start with the end in mind, so you're not redoing these projects, a 30-year projects twice or three times. So that's really good. Well, Virginia, it has been great to have you on the podcast. Thank you again so much, and look forward to further conversations. If somebody wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way? Is that through LinkedIn, to connect with you on LinkedIn?
Absolutely. They can message me there, or do a private message, or DM me then. That would be great. And it is Virginia Grant on LinkedIn as well.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in to Behind the Barricade. And we look forward to the next episode, and we'll see you soon. This is brought to you by Cornerstone, where we're dedicated to creating a better journey for our clients, our staff, and our project partners, and ultimately with the world. Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.